Hello. Yeah, today's our topic is innovation, a new science and psychology based technique to help thrive in life. And we are having the speaker, Kimberly Gills. She is the CEO of Clarity Point Coaching USA, Marie-Noël Bessencon. She is president of the guests at the Festijn La Maison des Sauces, France, and Dr. B.B. Kaliwal. Yeah.
Is it on? Okay. So I want to share just a minute a little bit about my story. I started my first business when I was only 20 years old, but then I had a family and I stopped working and had four wonderful children and then found myself divorced and a single mom with no education, no business, and not sure how to support myself. And what I did have was a love for speaking and a love for books. And I often read about a book a day. And I love books about psychology and self improvement, human development. And so at that time, I got a job as a sales trainer. And it was a wonderful company, and I loved what I did, but I really loved to work with people one on one. And I had an opportunity to become a life coach. And I loved life coaching. The problem was that the program that I'd been provided wasn't really helping my clients. And so over the years, I started innovating and coming up with new techniques that I felt worked better. And it turns out that they work so well. Soon I had psychologists and social workers and other mental health professionals wanting to learn what I was teaching. And so the company has grown, and we now have about 60 coaches around the country and new certification classes starting every other month. And what I want to do today is share with you a few of my, I think, most powerful techniques for improving someone's life and how they feel about themselves and their life. So, I want to start today. I would like to share with you a principle of human behavior that when you understand this, you will understand people at a whole new level. You'll understand why we behave the way we do. And the bottom line is that everybody on the planet, and it doesn't matter how rich or successful or famous or poor and struggling, everybody battles the same two core fears every day to some degree. And the biggest core fear that we all battle, we call the fear of failure. And it's really the fear that I might not be good enough. And all of us have it. We experience it to some degree every single day. And let's see here. I'm going to show you. Okay, we're going to talk first about this fear of failure. So, this for most of us started when you were very small. Because one of the first things we experience when we're small is mom and dad saying, "No, don't do that. Don't be like that. Can't you be more like this? You need to be this." And the message that comes across is maybe who you are isn't adequate. You need to be something different than who you are to be good enough. And then we go to school, and the first thing you learn in school is that there's kids smarter than you, prettier, better looking than you, more athletic than you, and that fear gets bigger. And then as we grow, I wish I could tell my children I've grown out of that, but as an adult, there's even more levels on which I can fail. So that fear is definitely still here for all of us. And I know if you think about this for a minute, you'll be able to think of some areas where you feel insecure. And usually they're in these different areas. We tend to determine our value as a human being by some combination of these things. We think our appearance affects our value and how good we are, our performance, how much money we make, or how successful we are, our property, what we own. If we have a nice car or a beat up car, we think that affects our value. It's a reflection on who we are and our past, the family we come from, or especially what other people think of us. And all of us are sort of afraid of judgment and what people think because we believe if people don't like me, then maybe I'm not good enough, right? So I think this is almost a math problem that we use to determine our value as a person. And even if we're good in some of these areas, there are other areas we feel are weak or we have flaws. And so, no matter what combination of these things you use to determine your value in the end, it's not enough. And you don't feel good enough. And I really believe, especially for women, this fear of failure, the fear that I'm really inadequate is the biggest thing that holds us back. So I would like today to show you a very new, innovative way to change this fear for yourself and for other people, for your children, for friends, and people that you know that are struggling, especially with that kind of insecurity all the time. So, um, real quick, I do want you to understand that this fear is really what causes most bad behavior. When we behave in a way that's selfish, that's obnoxious, if we're a show off or a know it all, if we're overly controlling or bossy, all of these kinds of bad behavior really are founded in your fear that you're not enough. And when that becomes painful, you usually behave in a way that's not loving because you can't do love and fear at the same time. They're like dark and light, and you can't have both a dark room and a light room at the same time, right? You can't have fear and love show up at the same time. So the more afraid we are, the more we struggle in relationships and to get along with people because our loving self doesn't show up. So one other thing fear does to us is it makes us feel very different from other people. And the more afraid I am that I'm not good enough, the more different I feel. And if I'm different than other people, I have to be either better than them or worse than them. And we do have this subconscious tendency, and it's just human nature. We all do it. Every time we meet a new person, we kind of either feel intimidated, like we might be less than them, or we sort of look down on them and we feel like we're better. And it happens very subconsciously. So it's not really that we choose this or we want to feel this way. It just sort of shows up in our head. Does that make sense? So this fear of failure is causing all kinds of problems in our behavior at home and work and in our relationships. So do you want to get rid of it? Okay. I'm going to teach you how. So the first thing I want you to understand is that these are ideas and perspectives. This feeling that I'm not enough, it's not a truth. It's not a fact. It's just a belief. It's an idea. And because it's a perspective, we can change it. We could adopt a different idea about our value. So I first want you to understand the core belief that's creating your fear that you're not good enough. Because there's a core belief that you have that you're not even aware of that's the real problem. So this is the belief, that's the problem. We all have accepted as truth the idea that human value is changeable. That your value as a person can change. Now what this means is that if you are very successful and you work hard and you make lots of money, your value goes up. And you may even become better than others. But the opposite is true. If you gain weight, if you lose your job, if you end up struggling in a career, your value goes down and you're literally less than other people. And we've all accepted that this idea of human value, earning more or losing it, is fact, but it's really not. It's just perspective, it's just idea. Okay? Now, what this leads to is what I believe causes most of the conflict on our planet. This idea that certain groups of people are better than other groups of people. And no matter what category we divide ourselves in, whether it's race or religion or sex or which football team you like better, you always think these other people who are different than you are less, right? And we all do it. We see people as better or worse. And if the, this is the problem on the planet that creates racism and all kinds of unfairness and conflict. And it's because of this belief that you believe people can be better or worse that creates your fear that you're always not enough. And what it does is no matter how hard you work, no matter how beautiful you try to be, you will always find people that have things you don't. So, as long as you believe human value can change, you will always be afraid that you're not enough. So, the belief that we want to teach you to change is the idea that human value is actually infinite and absolute and can't change. That all human beings have the same exact value, and that value is unchangeable. If you accept this as a truth in your life and you decide to see all people this way, now the trick to this is you can't just see your own value as infinite. You have to give it to everybody in your life. So everywhere you go, if you see people who are richer or more successful than you have to say, oh, that's so wonderful that they've done those things, but they still have the same value as me. And when you pass this homeless person who doesn't have a job that normally you might judge, you remind yourself, that doesn't matter. He still has the same intrinsic value as me, because all human beings do. And the more you give this to people and you teach this to your children, the more you will accept it as a truth inside of you. And if you really believe that all human beings have the same value, you can't be not enough. You always have the same value as others. And that creates a totally different mindset about your life. Now, most people, when I ask them what the purpose and point of being on the planet is, they tell me that we're here to learn and grow. We're here to develop ourselves and try to become better. So to me, life is like a school, and every day is another lesson. We get all kinds of interesting lessons, and sometimes we make mistakes, and that is the lesson, is in making this mistake. The question is, do our mistakes count against our value, or are they just a lesson to teach us something? Now, one of the most profound mindset shifts that I help my clients, my corporate clients and personal clients to make, is to choose to see your life as a classroom, not a test. Now, understand the difference. If life is a test, then every mistake you make counts against your value. It counts against your grade, and you can't fix it. Because you made that mistake, it's a permanent mark against you. In a classroom where there is no test, it's just learning time. And we get problems to solve, but if we get them wrong, we can just erase it and try again. And it doesn't affect our value as a person. And that's the perspective we would encourage everyone to adopt. That all of life, every single day is a new lesson, but